And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you. And the fake, whatever they call them, because I can't say the name, but the criminal in the White House would not be able to keep you from going to jail. B'nai Good should be here today.
It's that is the message that, you know, we've basically been saying should be sent right now in Minneapolis. I mean, and I know that there's been some strong words on that front, and Jacob Frey has taken the opportunity to say some bad words.
To say get the fuck out, but not I'm going to prosecute you.
Yeah.
Because he's already given up that ground. Omar Fateh was running on, if ICE does something when they come here, that we have to prosecute them. And Frey was saying that was impractical. And now he's kind of boxing the corner because he still thinks that. He still thinks it's impractical, and he doesn't want to. And the larger problem is we don't have control over our police forces in this country. The cops in Minneapolis, they can prove me wrong, but my prejudice against them is that they're all, frankly, one step away from ICE agents, and they come from the suburbs themselves, and they're all, frankly, racial paranoiacs. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. I hope I am. But if you don't see them take any sort of stand against ICE, it will be because of that reason. Because they're not accountable to our democracy either.
And the lesson I think here is like that none of this is static. You can have leadership and you can have community solidarity create more oxygen for this kind of thing. Like, this is why local leadership right now is so important, because, and we saw that in the video of the woman with the DoorDash driver. If you feel like you have an infrastructure, whether it's your community, whether it's the police force that you work for that is going to have your back, or if you have a district attorney that's going to embolden you to like arrest these ICE agents, you are more willing to take that action. So this is not to absolve all of our many critiques of policing or engage in propaganda, want to be sensitive to that very fact. But it is to say that we have to use the existing institutions that are available to us right now to fight back against fascism. And the way to do that is to make sure that police officers know that this is a part of protecting your community and this is what is expected of you. And, you know, it's good to see that regardless. Because also, in the end, even if they're from the suburbs and stuff like that, like, this is still an outside force coming into your city, your state, or the area that you're from, and terrorizing people that you know. And
in a mockery of public safety, which is supposed to be your whole thing. Because as anybody should know, sanctuary laws are not there because everyone has kumbaya feelings. They're there because it's good for public safety to not have people alienated from the public safety apparatus.
Absolutely. You need people to call EMS services. You need people to report that children are being abused. You need people to report that there's a fire, that somebody has been mugged. You need people to ID criminals happening. And if the police are not, and this comes out of experience. This isn't a theory. This comes out of like years of public safety experience. You don't want parts of your community who are not willing to report crimes or emergencies because they're afraid that it's going to expose them to immigration enforcement. That's just like bottom line. It's just accepting the reality that there are people in this country who are undocumented. Now, let's also be clear. You've got a lot of people who are getting scooped up who are in fact documented. They may not be citizens, but they're documented. And they're getting deported, and they're getting lost in the system, or they're getting buried into this system. You have people who have come into this country who are undocumented, but were brought in as kids. There's a whole host of range of this, and you don't want significant portions of your community afraid of reporting to the police or to emergency services. And this is not like a new thing. You can look into our Constitution, and there's a reason why the census doesn't say count the citizens. It says count the people who are in the country at the time of the census.
This is the fight that the right is engaging in here, as we are going to be seeing increased migration due to climate change and due to the destabilization of other parts of the world. They are using citizenship status as a way to tier society and continue to create hierarchies. It's very easy to get citizenship in certain circumstances. Say, if you want to move to Israel, for example, damn, it's pretty easy to do that. But if you want to move to the United States and you're from Latin America, gosh, you've got to go through an essentially indentured servitude process that could take 15, 20 years. You see how different ways, you see the ways citizenship and legal status that's granted from that is being exploited by capitalism, by nation states to tier societies and to enforce the will of the state as they choose.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
Up to 1,500 active duty soldiers have been ordered by the Pentagon to be prepared for a possible deployment to Minnesota, according to multiple US media outlets. This comes after the city of Minneapolis has had large, widespread protests over immigration enforcement activities across the state. And where earlier this month, protester and US citizen Renee Good was shot dead by an ICE agent. Now, these soldiers are reportedly based in Alaska and have received specialized training to operate in icy, cold climates. Having troops on standby does not necessarily mean a deployment is imminent or guaranteed, but it comes just days after Donald Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act to quell protests in Minneapolis. This would be an extraordinary step, as the Insurrection Act is often historically been viewed as a last resort and is a rarely used law which would authorize and allow military to be deployed inside the US for law enforcement duties. And it was last invoked in 1992 under George H.W. Bush. In a statement, the Pentagon told the ABC that it's prepared to execute orders from the Commander-in-Chief if called upon. Meanwhile, the Minnesota governor, Democrat and one-time vice president candidate Tim Walz, has mobilized the state's National Guard. And if the National Guard is deployed on the streets, they will be wearing high-vis vests over their uniforms so that they can be distinguished from other agencies like ICE officers.
From the Pep Radio Newsroom, we have more on the story about troop deployment to Minnesota. If U.S. troops are deployed from Alaska to Minnesota, it is unclear whether the Trump administration would invoke the Insurrection Act, which gives the president the power to deploy the military or federalized National Guard troops to quell domestic uprisings. Even without invoking the act, the president can deploy active duty forces for certain domestic purposes, such as protecting federal property, which Trump cited as a justification for sending Marines to Los Angeles last year. In addition to the active duty forces, the Pentagon could also attempt to deploy newly created National Guard Rapid Response Forces for civil disturbances. The Department of War is already prepared to execute the orders of the Commander-in-Chief if called upon, said Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell, using the Trump administration's preferred name for the Department of Defense. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the order, which was first reported by ABC News. The soldiers subject to deployment specialize in cold weather operations and are assigned to 2 U.S. Army infantry battalions under the 11th Airborne Division, which is based in Alaska, the officials said. Trump, a Republican, sent the surge of federal agents from ICE and Border Patrol to Minneapolis and neighboring St. Paul early last week as part of a wave of interventions across the United States, mostly to cities run by Democratic politicians. He said troop deployments in Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Memphis, and Portland, Oregon, are necessary to fight crime and protect federal property and personnel from protesters. But this month he said he was removing the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, where the deployments have faced legal setbacks and challenges. Local leaders have accused the president of federal overreach and of exaggerating isolated episodes of violence to justify sending in troops. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, against whom the Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation, has mobilized the state's National Guard to support local law enforcement and the rights of peaceful demonstrators, the State Department of Public Safety posted on X on Saturday. That's what we know for now from the Pep Radio Newsroom. I'm David Moore.